Is that right?
Oh,
Yeah.
traitor.
And then Jeff leaves, and
Yeah,
so does all the back row. So it's really just us three.
Yeah.
All right.
And
I'm going to be a scientist ashore, so maybe I'll send you some good jokes.
yeah,
That'd
please
be
do.
very helpful. Yes, thank you, Beth. Keep us on the pun track there too.
Yeah.
My guess is that I'll just be replaced by an older version of me. So. Sorry, Daver.
Steve, who replaces you? Do you guys rearrange, or
Who is?
Sarah staying on? Or
Let me check the cruise plan and I'll be
Yeah.
able to tell you.
Looks like a good team coming on board.
oh yeah, be good. We have
More interdisciplinary group of biologists and geologists.
Jake, you have greetings from your friends at URI.
Oh, wow.
They've been saying hi several times throughout this dive.
Oh, wow.
Hello, URI friends. It's probably Garrett. I think he texted me. Hello, Garrett.
A student from Tennessee Tech University says, thank you all so much for making these expeditions available and visible to the public. I started watching these streams just last year and they're so fascinating and relaxing. I hope you all get some good data from the samples you've collected.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tennessee Tech student. We appreciate that.
Sarah's going to be your data logger on this watch for the next cruise.
Oh.
Nice. Who's the third data logger? Someone coming on?
We have a new intern coming out on the 12 to 4. And there is 2 new data loggers for the 4 to 8. Oh, the 12 to 4 is going to be tough. We have 2 Steves.
The watch before us has
I'm going
two
to go back
Aarons,
to being Science Steve again, aren't I?
So
Yeah. We had a cruise earlier this year where we had a Argus pilot named Rendy.
Oh, I know Randy.
ooh,
And then I was on this side, Rennie, and then Hannaford was the pilot. So I think Josh might have done that on purpose, just so he would get flustered. No, Rendy.
Randy's in Brennan's lab.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, he's great.
A viewer in the Netherlands says, thanks for sharing this expedition. It was amazing to see all of this. Hope to see you all next year. Was a great year with high and low points. Great community came to the rescue. And amazing, and thanks to all the people that have made this possible.
Yeah, and for those who maybe aren't sure what the rescue means, I think that's maybe referring to the collaboration between ROV Jason and the Ocean Exploration Trust, but earlier this fall, late summer, when Hercules and Argus decided to spend a little bit longer on the seafloor than we were anticipating and needed to have some rescue. Luckily, there was another vessel operating in the area on the Juan de Fuca Ridge and was able to come at very short notice and help bring Hercules and Argus back to the ship.
Yeah, you know, I think I can say safely now that we got them back. That was incredibly stressful, low sleep week, but it was a lot of fun to problem solving, get the vehicles back, and the execution of that and everything. It was really collaboration, communication. It was really, really nice.
What was the total time on the bottom that they spent? Like
about a week.
a week?
And this expedition that we just are wrapping up, right? This was the first time that the vehicles were back in the water for science since that event. Is that correct?
Hercules.
Hercules,
yeah.
yeah. So, and how great. It just came off without a hitch. No,
Yeah.
no issues.
Yeah, it's just the way that that event happened. Hercules was relatively unscathed. It's never ideal to get a rock sample from Argus, but we managed.
Did anything come up on the
I have
stats?
that in a little jar. Just little tiny crumbs.
Was it soft bottom or?
Oh no, it wasn't, Steve. It was adjacent to the main Endeavour event field.
I see.
And a very rocky, pillowy lava area. Right next to a crevasse. But yeah, Hercules, you know, has a syntactic foam and it was positively buoyant. So when Argus parted and fell to the seafloor, Hercules was already midwater. And we don't have reason to believe it ever wasn't. Just kind of stayed in midwater and eventually floated. And we kind of had the scenario mapped out before we went down what we suspected we would see. And it was as we suspected. Hercules was a balloon Argus was holding. It was a bit eerie approaching it, but we were able to broadcast everything from the Thompson and the Jason group to our screens here. So
Yeah, how did that happen? I was watching on the science chat, and how did you get the feeds piped here?
I don't know, some kind of magic that Tim orchestrated, I guess. I'm not sure.
Bluetooth.
Yeah, I mean, we were close enough for some, I don't know. Ooh,
Squid? Fish?
fish, weird.
What'd they cut the tether with?
A saw.
Yeah.
Saw?
So they had a, well, perhaps for people who are unfamiliar, there's the daisy chain that's holding a Spectra, or what is that? Yeah, Spectra lift line, purple, pretty thick, to the tether. And so they were worried about the saw getting caught up in those fibers and gunking up, so they cut the Spectra line with a knife and the daisy chain, and they had like the coolest zip tie contraption, so simple. It was like a Mobius zip tie, just two put together in a weird way and attached to a handle. So they could slip it over the line. I'll try to find a picture of it.
There's actually a video of this online.
Yeah. And then they cinched it and kind of left the handle with it. So they were able to keep we were worried about during the recovery operations, the lift line and the daisy chain becoming loose and getting in thrusters and whatnot, like the jet pump of the ship, not the inoperable ROVs. But yeah, and then they used a hydraulic saw, I think. It was like a band saw that they had on their porch, so they just kind of brought it towards, and it floated up.
Wow.
It was really cool to watch.
It was so instantaneous, it was a bit disturbing.
Well, and also there was a delay in the audio and the visual, so we were hearing that it was working before we actually saw it.
Yeah,
So-
we had a similar, maybe not as much of a delay, but even on the ship, we heard that it was released before we saw it too. And then, yeah, there's a highlight video, like 7 or so minutes long, of the recovery. It's pretty cool to watch. Gives a rundown of what we did.
shout out to Jess from her mentor, Will Sellers.
Oh,
way.
wow.
Will Sellers, how's
How are
it
you
going?
doing? Stories from the deep.
Stories from the deep, yeah.
.blogspot.org, is that it?
Yeah, WordPress maybe, one of the two, yeah.
Yeah, hey, Will.
Yeah,
Nice
what
to
a
hear
what a nice visitor.
Will has a very storied history in deep ocean exploration.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Alvin pilot, Jason pilot, Hercules pilot,
Yeah,
possibly an Alvin swimmer at some point.
I think so, yeah. Very cool.
And sea shanty enthusiast.
That is definitely an understatement.
We have a comment that says, you guys and gals rock. You're having positively enviable jobs. I'm grateful for your dedicating your lives to further mankind's knowledge.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for the compliment, and it's a pleasure to get to do this for a job.
We also have a whole team of shoreside scientists that are participating and sometimes actively using our collections and samples, so they contribute to this effort as well. The crazy thing to me is to think about, 100 years down the road, somebody might be using the samples that we collected on this day. And, who knows what kinds of technologies they'll have and they'll be using to expand our horizons.
There was an instance of that recently where there were some moon rocks that were saved unanalyzed and then waiting for technology to have a new way of analyzing them, and were recently reanalyzed with some new insights, but that's the only snippet of that I know. I read the article and it just disappeared.
Those moon rocks might be in Bethel, Maine.
It's like they're using whaling logs now to look at climate change effects. Like, because I guess whalers took very, very meticulous notes during their voyages.
Huh.
So
yeah, old ship's logs for
like,
climate and everything.
Yeah, tearing those
there was
art,
some
trying to find trends.
there was a lot of effort out here in the Hawaiian Islands during the first two decades of the 20th century, where several species of corals were described. And a lot of those are still being revised into different groups based on current knowledge of taxonomy. So that samples from the 1910s, 1920s are still being actively
How were those sampled? Like dredge?
Yeah, rock dredges or trawls, yeah.
Oh, so I get some mangled corals. And
it's funny, yeah, some of them are just fragments. Like, we take for granted how much we get in a 10-centimeter snip or something, but sometimes these snips are like a few centimeters long and maybe half a dozen polyps. But at the time they were novel enough that they could be described. But now that we know more about how, for example, the colony branches, something you can usually only see in situ, or colonies that are fragile and break on the way up, we know a lot more about the diversity and anatomy of some of these corals and sponges. Some of those collections are housed at MCZ itself.
it was kind of incredible walking around MCZ and all the collections and seeing handwriting from the 1800s. And yeah, really cool stuff.
Several years ago, the 6th International Symposium on Deep Sea Corals was held in Boston, and there was a little side contingent. Lee Marsh and myself, another science manager on Nautilus, took a trip to the MCZ. See some Nautilus collections. look at my terrible handwriting.
I know, yeah, I saw
Which is
some of
now
my handwriting
enshrined in a
back.
museum.
That was cool. It was cool to see that. I did some work with the Smithsonian, and there was just walking in those, you see the museum, and then you go in the back catalogs, and there's just filing cabinets to the ceiling. And but I found also intriguing was the things that were too big to fit in filing cabinets that were just kind of like in the hallway, like Tyrannosaurus Rex head, you know, like
giant jar of tarantulas.
yeah. Couldn't you have subsampled? No, big jar.
Yeah, that's a very cool museum, and I think the Harvard Museum's just opened up again for people to visit. They have the glass collection.
The glass collection, I was just about
yeah.
to say, is so amazing.
Really fine detail.
Amazing.
Incredible.
They were teaching tools, believe it or not.
Yeah, little models.
So we have viewers in Washington State who say, mahalo Nautilus expedition, including our Hawaiian culture, has been a great inspiration to our people as well as other indigenous nations. Malama pono ahuiho, Hawaiians in Washington State.
Yeah, aloha nui gang. It's nice to, it's really refreshing and nice to hear that we have not only our our communities and our ohana at home in Hawaii also, but we hope that the connections to this place in Papahānaumokuākea and stuff are remind us in a pleasant way of home and recenter us in where we are. So no matter where you may be around the world, no matter what you're up to or what's going on and stuff like that, just remember that home is always going to be here, and this is the place that we all descend from. And so aloha pumehana, you guys out there, and we hope that you guys will join us for the next one, with the next 10 day in Hawaii, and to chime in a little bit more and then just maybe give some of your insights as the lineal and cultural descendants of this place. So our aloha is definitely with you guys. Take care out there.
Yeah, and we'd love to have as many different audiences as possible also sign up for our ship-to-shore live interactions. It's a great way to actually engage with the teams that are out here and ask questions about the work that we're doing, and you can even provide input on the way that we're doing our work. So if you haven't ever tried to do that, go to the nautiluslive.org website, education tab, ship-to-shore interactions, and request to be scheduled. Either for the next expedition or some of the ones coming up in 2022. And I believe soon, the 2022 expedition schedule is not currently on the Nautilus Live page, but information about the 2022 series will be coming up probably earlier in the new year. So stay tuned. But some of us on this current expedition are hoping to be out here in April for the return cruise to the monument and to explore the seamounts of the Liliuokalani Ridge to the north of where we are right now. And a reminder again that we have, I believe, until January 5th, the public comment period is open for sharing your perspectives on the consideration for sanctuary status for the Papahānaumokuākea Marine National Monument, and if that's something that is worthy of pursuing. And so you can find information about that at papahānaumokuākea.gov, a chance to provide your public input.
Yeah, and one final pitch for anyone listening and wanting to stay involved. If there are any younger audience members, 18 and under, we're still accepting ideas and designs in our patch contest. So every year we have a specific expedition patch design that is designed by one of our viewers. We would love to to see your ideas, and maybe you get to see it turned into a patch for 2022. You can find more information there on nautiluslive.org under education. With the dives complete, Beth, what will we be doing the next 5 days?
Hanging on. Yeah, so we, where we are is, I don't know, what did we say, 800, 900 nautical miles from
something like that.
Oahu. So that'll take us a little while to transit. I don't remember what our ship speed was coming out here, but it might be a little bit slower going back considering this big swell that we're going to be encountering. So the final days of the expedition will be transiting back home, multi-beam mapping along the way. So when you tune in to the nautiluslive.org feed, or if you're watching on the YouTube channel, you'll be seeing views from the cameras mounted around the ship of the view outside. Follow along, you'll see our ship track, and you'll also see the multi-beam data coming in. And yeah, on the ship, we'll be packing up our final samples, securing everything, writing up our reports, finishing up the communications projects, different highlights and blog posts, finishing up our interactions. We've got a lot of those still scheduled for the remainder of the week. Yeah, and then just generally trying to find comfortable spaces to be while we're rolling back and forth on the waves. Maybe trying to get some laundry done before we hit port.
A viewer says, thank you for all the lighthearted moments. They will always make this expedition memorable. I really especially enjoyed the current indicator and the illustrated scoop.
Duly noted.
Me too.
Details don't get past anybody.
Nope.
Viewers from, oh, doesn't say where. Sad that this expedition is over, went by so quickly. We tune in and just keep you guys on as we work around the house all day. We are avid scuba divers and have learned so much as we watch, as well as laughing along with you all. Thank you for loving our oceans and doing all that you do to protect and preserve them. Until next time, keep safe and aloha.
Yeah, mahalo for the comment. And it's great that our audience can connect the exploration we're doing on these deep sea seamounts to the life that they see when other ways of accessing the oceans, whether that's snorkeling or scuba diving. I've definitely learned some things on this expedition about how animals move in the deep sea. Seen some great video footage. I'm sure some of them will be turned into highlights. Some of the ways that the fish swim and how the brittle stars do some acrobatics. How the crinoids creep through the water. And this beautiful swimming shrimp. Yeah, although you can really see their swimmerettes in action. I guess that was another team name that we had considered, was Chaunacops, wasn't it? Chaunacops?
Could be a good name for an ROV.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
That is a good name.
Because it only has one eye.
Chaunacops.
And it's a robot?
Mm-hmm.
Chaunacops. Yes.
I'm imagining a very bulky ROV, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Not very hydrodynamic, but functional.
With 2 little manipulator arms.
Yeah.
I think you're thinking of T-Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
T-Rex meets Chaunacops. Meets robot.
Did we want a consensus on a group name? Or do we want to leave this up for us to individually fantasize about later on.
A mystery for the ages.
Yeah,
Mystery.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with it not being 100%.
I'm going to rename the watch as I'm mapping alone for the next several days.
We can set a time to come hang out with you.
Yeah, I'll just be down in the data lab. The anti-gravity chamber.
We'll share some great puns with each other.
They don't have seatbelts down there yet.
It's really at this moment in the ship where you don't really, you just kind of, you're weightless for more than half the time. It doesn't make sense physically. One of my favorite things to do is when we're pitching violently in the seas is you step outside the data lab door, which is kind of in the middle of the ship. So it's feeling a lot of the heave, but not so much of the angle of the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
You step outside the door and then you look aft and you can see outside the hangar door out to the aft of the ship, and you see sky, and then very violently you see the ocean, and then sky, and then the ocean, but you're not really feeling that. You're just looking down,
right,
and
you're
understanding
like right in the
that,
middle.
yeah, it's a little bit disorienting. A lot of people get seasick down there.
Yeah,
Like you're on the roller coaster. You can see the roller coaster that you're technically on, but you're not feeling it.
It's disorienting.
Yeah.
Well, and there's been theories as to, depending upon which way you sit, whether you're sitting fore and aft or side to side, whether or not one's worse than the other.
There are microclimates of seasickness within that lab.
Yeah.
If you're in one cubicle over, then you can't sit. Any of the ones forward, that's like the no-go zone.
Sitting forward is bad, yeah.
The fishbowl,
I
actually.
like sitting forward.
See, there you go.
I don't mean facing forward. I mean like the forward-most positions in that lab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try to spend some time on the bridge. I like the perspective up there of seeing the bow go up and down, side to side.
No one's going for the monkey deck?
Yeah, monkey deck. Although sometimes in heavy seas, they'll tell us we can't go on outside decks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, our audience at home can watch what we're seeing with our cameras mounted on the outside of the vessel.
Yeah, that was, I think, one of the most requested before we had it. Was a bow cam. Kind of really, it does provide a lot of context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also nice to be in the ship and you can safely watch what's happening on the bow without having to go outside.
Yeah, true.
I can remember, I think it was back in July or June, everybody was sitting in the mess watching the bow cam and then cheering if we hit a wave hard enough to bring spray back to hit the camera.
Yeah.
It was like this little, yay, we hit the camera.
I have a few videos from over the years of my phone encountering that spray when I was up on the monkey deck.
NA4.
If spray was hitting your camera, should you have been up on the monkey deck?
Yeah, that's debatable. I definitely came down one time, and the first mate was writing on the board that we shouldn't go outside. And he's like, "Did you just come from outside? What were you doing out there?"
Breaking the law. We'll also be, we'll be almost heading due east. So if you tune in at sunrise and sunset Hawaii time, should be able to see those either over the bow or after the ship. Has anybody seen a green flash on this expedition?
No.
No, I have never seen one.
I've seen two, possibly three total.
Okay.
Oh, I meant this.
No, this cruise. No. I'm not one of those green flash people.
Oh.
That's it. They see it every time.
Yeah, you blink.
Yeah.
You stare at the sun too long and it turns green.
Like, oh, that was green flash. I'm like, what were you looking at?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen one on this expedition either.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of clouds on the horizon, which make for beautiful colors, but Got about a little less than 800 meters to go, coming up.
Oh yeah, we'll get there in 50 minutes or so.
Channel 3 looks quite lovely outside.
It does.
Wouldn't know sitting in this dark box.
Is anyone familiar with the song Rock Lobster?
Oh, yes. By the B-52s?
Yeah, B-52s.
Oh,
yeah,
do
of
you know
course.
that?
Fun story, it was actually called squat lobster originally.
No.
That was... The viewer was actually wondering if it gets stuck in our head every time we see a squat lobster.
No, it's usually Octopus's Garden.
Mm.
For whatever reason. I'm a Beatles fan, so it's always awesome.
Octopus Garden. I get under pressure kind of stuck in
That works too.
Yep. I just have the Life Aquatic soundtrack going constantly.
Nice.
On Simmer?
I don't know. I don't think it's Hans Zimmer. It's Mark Mothersbaugh.
Oh, that's right, it is.
Bravo, do you get songs stuck in your head?
When we're on the bottom? Maybe they didn't hear you. Chit-chatting about something else.
A viewer in Ohio says, you have all helped me determine my future career path. Thank you for helping me find my passion.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
They didn't tell us what it was.
Yeah.
As far away from the deep ocean as possible. Never want to interact with these people.
Maybe they're going to become a psychologist.
Yeah, actually appropriate.
Coral psychologist.
No, but thank you for watching. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Nautilus quiz was part of that too. If it was ocean oriented.
Maybe.
Help you find an ocean related career. Since we're on our final shift, final chances to see in the control van for our audience at home. Jeff, do you want to walk us through all the different views?
Did you want to take a tour of the...
Yeah, let's take a tour.
All right.
Let everybody see the behind the scenes, what's going on in here.
All right, let's start with this one. This is camera 1.
Yay.
I gotta get the remotes for
Hi,
it. There.
Mom.
Yeah, so here we go. We'll tilt down and over. There's Rennie. Hi, Rennie.
Oh, there's Randy.
Jess and Jake.
Yep.
Hello.
Hey, Jess and Jake.
Go up here.
There's Jeff.
No, Jeff gets panned out. See, I control this.
Hey,
Right.
thanks for viewing, watching along.
Hey, and then Steve gets buried behind the pillar between the two vans.
Yeah,
So
it's over there.
we actually can do
There's his head. There he is.
this.
Oh, there he was. Yeah, there he is.
This is Van Cam 4
Oh, yeah.
in the back corner. So we can do the group shot. There's Steve in the back. There's the back side of the front row. Oh, wait a minute. It won't pan. There's the back of my head.
Yeah, there's Jeff's head.
And somebody has this backwards. So we also have Van Cam 2 looking over the front row. So some people people with bald spots, Herc pilots with bald spots really hate this camera.
Look at the back of my lovely tail here.
Yeah, you can't see it. The camera's just, and I have no control over that camera, but Jess has her ponytail over the back of the chair half the time. Let's let's see, Van Cam 3, just the wide shot.
Oh, that's the one up here?
Yeah, that's the one up here. That's the one that I was messing around.
Kind of just looks at the monitors over everybody's heads.
Yeah, and that's the one that I was doing this.
Oh yeah, you can see what we're doing.
There's the telestrator, so if you reach over and touch on the telestrator, that's what she does with the telestrator. And this one also, there's for this particular cruise, we're not using it all. There's actually a table over here that we've used.
Yeah.
Previously on technology dives, we had somebody set up over here. So there's a couple of monitors.
I got to try that out yesterday when we were doing the connection with ISC.
Yeah, nice kind of out of the way. And then there's the video system.
The Tower of Power.
The Tower of Power. Lots and lots of stuff to watch. So.
Yeah, Jeff's got a lot of cameras at his control.
Yeah, total on the vessel is 36, I think. Yeah, I lose count. There's 6 in the van. There's another 6 around the vessel. Here's one. Here's a view most people won't get to see.
How many monitors do we have in this control room?
In this control room?
Yeah.
Ooh,
so
a lot.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 25, 20, 26 normal size ones, and then 5 tiny ones, at least.
Well, the front monitor wall, actually, each one of those monitors could theoretically display 16 displays. We actually have a salvo that will pull up pretty much all the inputs to the router and put them all on the front wall so we can do a quick check. But if I did that right now, everybody in the front row would freak out.
Yeah, we don't want that.
We don't want that.
We want a peaceful blue
yes,
water
we want
ascent.
a nice, quiet ascent. The other thing we can do with the front wall, and I showed Rennie this yesterday or the day before, is we can turn the front wall into one picture.
Oh yeah, right.
And I did that, and Rennie was like, "Whoa, what's that?" So,
Rennie got to see the wall of monitors turn to one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was...
Klingon High Command wall.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah. That was, most video engineers are very resistant to do that, so I was very privileged to be in the van when they did the Mondo wall.
What's a privilege? I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'll do it after we get through the dive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be cool when the shark's on the camera.
Yeah.
Hopefully the shark comes to say
One
hello.
last time.
One last time. There was some mahi-mahi this morning too, circling the ship.
Oh, cool.
So we have viewers wanting a tour of the whole ship, and I will point out that you actually can find that if you search EV Nautilus tour. There's a time lapse from 2014 you can watch, and there is a tour video from 2018.
Yeah, and I think they're making a new one.
Yeah,
on this
expedition. Because 2018 we didn't have these control vans.
Yeah.
And
we weren't, the ship wasn't as long.
No. Camera-wise on the outside, we do a lot on the deck. There's 3 cameras that are looking at the deck.
Yeah.
Hey, look, there's Mark.
Hey, Mark.
There's a security camera. We can keep track of everything. This is right outside the hangar door. This is an oddball-looking camera right now, but when the A-frame's in its normal position, there's a slight bump out on the transom. And so when they're doing underway CDTs, we can keep track of who's back there. So if anybody falls over, we go, hey, somebody fell over. That's the shark cam, the hangar, the wet lab, and the bow.
Very nice.
Yay.
And the most boring camera on the ship.
I feel like this is a comment for Jeff.
We also have the winch cam.
Yeah, I showed the winches earlier.
Oh, okay.
Someone says, oof, imagine all those screens when TFTs had not yet been a thing and CRTs were the tech of the day. That would be warm in there.
Very, very warm.
What do these acronyms stand for, Jeff?
I do not know. Yeah, Jeff.
TFT is basically a flat screen.
Okay.
And CRT was
the
cathode ray tube.
tubes.
So, yeah, a lot of heat. Not to mention, when I was younger, so not to get into the physics of it too much, but CRTs naturally resonate. They have a frequency at about 15 kilohertz. And when I was younger, I could actually hear that 15 kilohertz.
Yeah.
So you'd walk into a room and it's like, oh yeah, 15 kilohertz. Now that I'm older, I can't hear that.
Yeah,
so.
you could tell there was a TV on in the vicinity.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of weight too if those if we had that many cathode ray tubes in here.
Yeah, everything's gotten
Smaller and lighter.
yeah, for the most part. Smaller and lighter, but a lot of this stuff actually consumes as much, if not more power, and generates more heat.
Yeah.
Just because the integrated circuits keep getting smaller and smaller. So we have a fairly robust chilling system in the vans.
LMAO. During our dives, we've observed kind of the permission protocol and a release protocol. We also had some ceremony when we entered into the monument to begin our work. Is there an intention to do something similar as we depart station or as we depart the monument?
Yes, we're just going to do something just private for the crew and stuff like that, just sort of like to close out, to finish up our work up here.
Yeah.
And mahalo the environment, mahalo everything and everyone that has allowed us to sort of be here. Definitely request the safe passage back home.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just bring it to a close. So like basically a larger scale of what we've been doing for every one of the dives so far. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Rennie, are you busy?
Nope.
Would you mind bringing up Fledermaus so that we can zoom around all the different seamounts we visited?
Sure.
Remind our audience where we've been throughout this expedition.
Nope, someone's using it right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. We'll try again later. Yeah, I guess now is the time to be setting in our next track.
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to do much gap filling on the way back? Or do we need to kind of pick a trajectory that gets us over ground that has already been mapped?
Definitely with the weather system and time constraints, etc. Probably have to consult with the bridge. Because we could lay out a plan of the ground we want to cover, and then they're like, nope, not at that heading, or
yeah, right.
You know, we want to be here by this time. I think the captain was talking about going a little more south initially. We've had a different captain that preferred to zigzag.
Okay.
Rather than a large departure, just kind of constant zigzags to avoid the brunt of the worst swell. So yeah, we will see. Normally, without the weather or anything, we'd pick a track and go alongside our main path that we took out here, as long as there's not data coverage, or try to map if there's seafloor satellite altimetry that hasn't been multi-beam mapped. We'll try to run over those peaks, kind of preferring them and connecting the dots as we go, rather than just covering for coverage's sake.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I'll have to talk with John. And
does anybody know our current tally for how much additional multi-beam coverage we've been able to generate during this expedition?
I don't know the current tally.
I could
on
look
the
at the
sit rep.
Yeah.
Usually, yeah, usually on the sit rep or the post cruise. Let's do a. If there's not a running tally, it's usually right at the end. I'll just report how much we covered.
Yeah, here we are. As of last night, our total linear coverage was a little over 3,000 kilometers.
Yeah, so we'll have to get the aerial.
Yeah, we'll get the aerial coverage in our sit rep coming out today.
Nice.
And all of this data helps contribute to the seabed 2030 goals to try to get better high-resolution maps of our seafloor. So there's a lot of it that we don't have good maps for, and we've definitely seen on this expedition that calls for how tall seamount features are or other features are off. Sometimes things are in the gravimetric satellite gravimetry data looks like a seamount. Ultimately map it, looks more like a ridge axis. There's definitely some times where we've gone over seafloor that the satellite data doesn't indicate there's anything of note, and when we multi-beam map, we see that there are actually features down there. So
yeah, really exciting to see the before and after shots of some of the bathymetry.
Yeah, exactly.
Less than about 500 meters to go.
Yeah, we're almost at that 500 meter mark.
Yeah. Hercules is approaching its 900th dive. Let's see if we
Oh yeah.
likely get that within this season.
So they started at 1,000 then?
Yeah, I think the one was already there.
Oh, that's tricky.
Yeah. Well, when they started this numbering system, I'm not positive how much was done before then, but I would suspect not much.
Yeah, so for the question about how often we have to go back to the surface to recharge our ROV, it is actually powered through the cable. So it's consistently tethered to the ship. And
yeah, there's not battery operated.
It's not battery operated, so not a lot of recharging involved. But we do have to resurface to recharge humans.
And collect our samples.
And collect samples.
I don't know if surfacing actually recharges humans. I feel like every time we surface, I have to spend a lot of energy.
The opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually easier when you do long dives.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult when you have fast turnarounds.
Yeah. Especially because samples come up, you got to process them right away, and then your next shift starts again less than 8 hours.
Yeah, but the other side of that is if we're working in shallower water, the long dives are better, but you don't have the box space. You need box space, so you need to come up. But you also can't kind of design a sampling survey scheme to do both. You can't both stay down for a long time and collect a lot of stuff unless it's, you know, your sampling objectives permit that. Because there are also physiological issues that need to be worried about. So for example, if you start at 2,000 meters or 3,000 meters on a seamount and your plan is to work shallow, every time you open the box, those deep water specimens are going to expire at shallower depths because the temperature is just significantly warmer. So usually if you're doing like shallow to deep, you might want to break somewhere in the middle, recover, preserve your specimens, send it back down and do a shallower dive. And of course, the things in the jars aren't really protected at all from any sort of temperature shock.
Same with the Niskins.
Niskins, yep.
Oops. Tiny little pieces to share here.
Insulated suction jars. There we go. If I had $10 million, that would be my first.
You would have,
you could still
would
see
not
in.
be able to see through them unless you had like a diamond window.
There'll be little cameras inside each one. Insulated suction jars, insulated Niskin bottles. I don't know if that's a thing. No. I mean, they're pretty heavy duty plastic. So it's not like they're losing a lot of heat, but you know, things like DNA will degrade, especially in the sun or warm water.
I want to step out.
Has that compromised samples before?
We don't know. I mean, the sunlight for sure. When we're taking eDNA samples, if we get UV light in our sample, it could and has led to degradation, but temperature not so much. In the case of push cores, we have to be aware of any potential gas in our samples if we're sampling near seeps. Otherwise, they might turn into bottle rockets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So, as we get shallower, gases expand in our push core samples sometimes, especially if there's hydrate around. A lot of methane, carbon dioxide, and deep sea sediments near seeps.
Sorry, gang. So I'm going to actually step out and prep for the stuff, but if you guys have time, I want to join us on the 12:30 in the aft deck to just, for that little ceremony thing, please feel free to do so. We're going to do the Mailaloa'e. So I know we'll get a briefing there, but thank you guys so much for being a part of my very first expedition to the deep sea. Learned so much and very inspired by all of you, even if sometimes I look just so fried. But thank you all, and I'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you.
Perfect timing, I think.
Beth, do you have any interest in looking at the nodules for taking any nodule?
I'm not going to take any for microbiology, but I would like to do the same split that we've been doing so that some can go to USGS right away, and the other goes to the GSO. Yeah, I've already packed up all my stuff, so. Jeff, do you mind putting the back deck cam on channel 3? I imagine folks are going to start showing up there soon to get ready for recovery.
What's our ascent rate been for this ascent?
Roughly 15
All right.
meters per minute.
Yeah, sounds good.
Someone's asking, how do crabs and other crustaceans end up so high above the seafloor? I'm imagining they're seeing some of these little planktonic copepods and little swimmers.
Yeah, if we're referring to the plankton in the water, and zooplankton, larvae, they're dispersed into the water as tiny little floaty bits. And if the audience member was referring to some of the squat lobsters and other things we saw during dives attached to some of the animals or swimming around on their own, then they move around in a slightly different way.
Beth, has there been a differing oxygen ratio in deeper water than closer to the surface?
Oh yeah, I was actually just looking at that data. If you're on the nautiluslive.org website and you see the little sidebar to the right of the video view, you'll see a chance to click on more data and you get a view of some of the sensor data coming in from Hercules, which is measuring things like temperature and salinity and also the concentration of oxygen. So up near the surface, where there's exchange with the atmosphere as well as phytoplankton that are creating oxygen through photosynthesis, the oxygen concentrations are highest. And then as you move through the water column down, the oxygen concentrations decrease, and that's due to respiration of all the organisms living in the water. And then as you get deeper down, oxygen concentrations come back up, reflecting the oxygen concentrations of the deeper water masses that are underneath the surface layers. And the seamounts we've been diving on intersect that deeper water at different depths, different water masses. And so we've definitely noticed a difference in oxygen concentration at some of the sites. At none of the locations here did we get into a real OMZ, oxygen minimum zone, in our sampling depths. But that is something we're being mindful of when they're thinking about the animal distributions and things like that.